If you look even further beyond them, this is after Caitlin shot that logo 3 where Stewie gave her like 5 feet of space to do so. But you will see Sandy Brondello looking like she's just kind of giving her a little bit of props. Because really, like, when you make 3 logo 3, not just regular 3-pointers, but 3 3-pointers in that amount of time is crazy. 3 logo 3s in that amount of time is unreal. There is really no other reaction than just to say, wow.
You ever seen a team get cooked and then walk off the court saying, yo, that was fire? That's exactly what went down when the New York Liberty defending champs, top of the standings, loaded with MVPs, got absolutely lit up on their own home floor. And the wildest part wasn't the scoreboard. It wasn't the highlight plays. It was what happened after the buzzer.
Nerve, the second-year players clearing out that side of the floor, shooting on Stewie, and then watch the reaction with one another. Stewie's laughing. Caitlin knows it's ridiculous. Just out there having a good time.
See, Caitlin Clark didn't just return from a 5-game injury break. She came back and dropped a 32-point gem on the heads of the most complete team in the league. And when the dust settled, Sabrina Ionescu and Brianna Stewart didn't dodge questions. They didn't throw shade. They gave her props. Real, unfiltered, honest respect. Now let's not pretend that kind of thing is normal. In pro sports, egos run high, especially in the W, where every game is a fight to protect your name and your team's rep. But on this night, the champs looked across the court and said, yeah, she's like that.
Yup, I'm gonna say it. Caitlin Clark is the best basketball player in the world. She's the best basketball player that I have ever seen. She is the difference maker. She is the needle mover. She is the face of basketball right now.
Clark didn't just help Indiana win, she flipped the script, turned rivals into believers. When 2 of the league's biggest stars go out of their way to praise the rookie who just embarrassed them on national TV, you know something serious just shifted. This wasn't just about basketball, this was a moment. And maybe, just maybe, it was the night the WNBA's next chapter officially began. Coming into this game, the New York Liberty had every reason to feel untouchable. They were undefeated, 9-0 defending champs, and playing in their own house in front of a packed-out crowd. Meanwhile, the Indiana Fever were quietly limping into town. They had been struggling without their top star and had very little momentum to speak of. But what everyone seemed to forget or straight up ignored is that Caitlin Clark was suiting back up. After missing 5 games with injury, expectations were low. Folks assumed she'd shake off some rust, maybe drop a few threes and ease her way back. Instead, she walked in like a storm and left the Liberty picking themselves off the floor. Clark came out gunning from the jump, hitting from deep, throwing lasers in transition, and manipulating the defense like she had a joystick in her hand. She wasn't just playing well, she was taking over. The Liberty, who are known for their crisp defensive rotations and elite communication, looked flat out rattled. By the end of the night, Clark had stacked 32 points, 7 assists, and what felt like a whole career's worth of highlight plays. It was one of those nights where the court feels smaller and the moment feels bigger. The Fever didn't just win by 14, they dominated in every way that mattered. They pushed the pace, they controlled the spacing, and they did it to a team that usually does the bullying. The real shock wasn't just that Indiana won, it's that the Liberty had no idea how to stop it. What was supposed to be a routine win for the league's top team turned into a masterclass taught by a rookie who decided this was going to be her league too. Sabrina Ionescu isn't just a fan favorite, she's one of the faces of the league. A cold-blooded scorer who's built her name off confidence and killer instinct. So when she steps to the mic after a blowout loss, you expect fire, frustration, maybe a little deflection. But not this time. Sabrina stood there and gave Caitlin Clark the kind of praise most rookies have to wait years to earn. No excuses, no sugarcoating. She flat out said it. We gave her too many easy ones. That might sound simple, but coming from Sabrina, that's heavy. She's one of the sharpest shooters in the game, and when a sniper gives another sniper props, it hits different. She didn't just talk about missed coverages, she broke down Clark's range, her release, and her ability to get clean looks, even when the defense was pressuring her. She made it clear, this wasn't a fluke night. This was talent on display, but it didn't stop at on-court talk. Sabrina also said she was genuinely happy to see Clark back and healthy, not just for Indiana, but for the league. That's not something you say about just another opponent. That's something you say when you recognize the player across from you is changing the game. And let's be real, that level of respect doesn't come easily in pro sports, especially not in the middle of a season when you're both fighting for position and headlines. Sabrina saw what Clark did, acknowledged it, and did it with the kind of honesty that only comes from one elite player recognizing another. That post-game moment wasn't about sportsmanship. It was about passing respect, peer to peer. If there's anyone in the WNBA who doesn't have to hand out compliments, it's Breanna Stewart. Multiple championships, MVP awards, Olympic gold, you name it, Stewie's won it. So when she talks, the whole league listens. And after getting torched by Caitlin Clark, Stewart could have easily leaned on the usual. We had breakdowns, we'll regroup, or it's a long season. But she didn't hide behind cliches. She told the truth. She owned it. And more importantly, she gave Clark her credit. Straight up, one of the rawest moments of the night came when Clark pulled up from the logo. Yes, the logo, with Stewart guarding her in space. Instead of being tight or frustrated, Stewie smiled. That's not just a reaction, that's a real-time acknowledgement that she had just witnessed something special. She didn't roll her eyes, she didn't wave it off, she appreciated the moment, even as it went against her. That's respect. In her post-game comments, she didn't make excuses for the loss. She said they got outplayed. She said they had defensive lapses. Sure, but it wasn't just about X's and O's. It was about how Clark's presence pulled their defense apart. The Fever made 17 threes. That doesn't happen unless someone's warping your scheme. Stewart said it herself. They had no answers for the spacing, the execution, or the rhythm. Indiana found with Clark leading the charge. And when an MVP like Stewie tips her hat after a loss, it's not PR, it's not political, it's game recognizing game. And it's another sign that Caitlin Clark didn't just win a game, she won the respect of one of the greatest to ever do it. Stats are cool, but Caitlin Clark's impact goes way deeper than a box score. What she did against the Liberty wasn't just about 32 points or 7 assists. It was about how she did it and what it did to the entire game. From the second she stepped on the floor, New York's defense looked like it had entered a maze with no exit. Every movement Clark made forced reactions. She stretched the floor to absurd lengths, pulling defenders so far out that Indiana's spacing looked like a training drill. The Liberty tried switching, they tried trapping, they tried denying her the ball. Nothing worked. Because Clark isn't just a scorer, she's basketball gravity. Her presence alone created open looks for everyone else. That's how you end up with 17 made threes from the Fever. It wasn't luck, it was architecture. She pulled defenses out of position, then made the read, dime to the corner, skip to the wing, or just cash the three herself. Even off the ball, she was dangerous. Moving without it, manipulating the defense like a puppet master. And the pace, that's another layer. Clark kept Indiana in constant motion, fast breaks, early offense, relentless pressure. The Liberty, who usually control the tempo, couldn't slow it down. They were reacting instead of dictating. And when a player takes away your identity like that, it messes with your rhythm. That's what makes Clark so scary. She doesn't just show up and play. She forces teams to completely rethink who they are. And in this game, she didn't just outplay the Liberty, she dismantled their system. It'd be easy to chalk this one up to a hot night. Shooters get hot all the time, right? But what Caitlin Clark did to the Liberty wasn't a fluke. It was calculated destruction. This wasn't just some rookie on a heater. This was a point guard running an offense like a general at war. Indiana didn't just win because Clark scored 32. They won because she gave them structure, confidence, and rhythm. That's what separates stars from systems, and Clark became the system the moment she checked in. While Liberty shooters forced shots trying to keep up, Clark stayed calm, found the open person, or made the right read. The Fever offense moved like a machine with her at the controls, and here's the kicker, the Liberty actually got more foul calls. They had their chances at the line, but none of it mattered because Indiana's offense was flowing too smoothly to stop. Every adjustment New York tried defensively failed. They switched schemes, matchups, help angles, all of it. Nothing slowed her down, and when a coaching staff with championship pedigree burns through every option before the third quarter's over, you're not dealing with a hot hand, you're dealing with a walking problem. Stewie and Sabrina both admitted it. They were out-executed, and it's rare to hear players of that level use that word. But that's what happens when one player steps on the court and makes 5 defenders second-guess every decision. Caitlin Clark didn't just hit big shots. She exposed the gaps in a title contender's armor and made it look routine. There's something powerful about watching elite athletes give respect where it's due, especially when it's raw and unprompted. Sabrina Ionescu and Brianna Stewart didn't have to say much after the loss. They could have kept it short, hidden behind locker room phrases, and kept it pushing, but they didn't. They stood in front of cameras and gave Caitlin Clark her moment and, more importantly, her respect. And this wasn't just basic sportsmanship. This was genuine admiration from 2 of the league's most accomplished players. Sabrina spoke on Clark's range and shot creation like she was reviewing tape of a fellow vet. Stewie acknowledged the damage Clark did without trying to protect her ego, and in doing so, both stars made it clear what they witnessed wasn't just impressive, it was historic. The tone of their praise felt different, like they knew this wasn't just a welcome back performance, it was the kind of display that forces a mental shift. You could hear it in their voices. The WNBA status quo had been shaken. When 2 MVP caliber players step up and essentially say, yeah, she's already that good, that's not just a soundbite, that's a league moment. One that sends a message to fans, media, coaches, and every locker room across the league. Caitlin Clark didn't just walk onto the court and take over a game. She walked off the court with the kind of respect most players grind years to earn, and she got it from the very women who had every reason to be salty. That's what greatness does. It earns applause, even from the ones wearing the other jersey. In sports, there's no bigger compliment than respect from the people you just beat. Not the fans, not the media, the ones who lined up across from you, tried to stop you, and couldn't. That's what Caitlin Clark earned in this game. Not just a win, not just a viral highlight reel, but the kind of respect that sticks. Sabrina and Stewie didn't just take the loss on the chin. They looked at what Clark did and said, that was greatness. And that's rare, because in a league where every possession is a war and every narrative is a battleground, those moments of honesty mean something. They shift culture, they shake up the hierarchy, and they let everyone watching know, yeah, this league is in good hands. So whether you're a die-hard Liberty fan, a brand new Fever bandwagoner, or just someone who loves watching the game evolve in real time, this was one of those nights, the kind you remember, not just because of what happened, but because of what it meant. And if you've ever wondered when the torch starts to pass in pro sports, this might have been it. So what'd you think? Was that just a classy post-game moment? Or did Sabrina and Stewie low-key crown Caitlin Clark as the next face of the W? Drop your take in the comments, smash that like button, like Clark smashed those threes, and subscribe so you never miss the next chapter in this wild, growing story called the WNBA.